In today's video, we will go over the startup of the Anderson RBM PRO 1400. The RBM PRO series from Anderson are designed to pick up wrap bale from the field to the farm and can handle bale from 4 to 5 foot in diameter. And I just want to remind you that this is just a condensate of what you should do. It's always important to look at and read the operator's manual and follow all the safety instructions properly. So first of all, we're gonna have to hook the drawbar to the tractor. So what is important to keep in mind is that the drawbar height versus the ground should be about 16 inches from the middle of the drawbar to the ground. And the most important is to make sure that the bed of the trailer is level as possible with the ground. On the Anderson RBM PRO, there's 3 sets of hydraulics that you need to connect to the tractor. They are all color match, so you cannot go wrong with it. The first set will be the green zip tie. So we're gonna have the pressure line connect to the tractor. We're gonna have the return line as well. And then if your tractor is equipped with it, you're also gonna have a load sensing line that you have to connect to the tractor. If you don't have an LS tractor, you just simply not connect it and the machine will work as fine. The second set of hydraulic you need to connect will be those tiny hoses. They are blue zip tie. These are controlling the spacing between the conveyor based on the diameter of the bales. So if you're doing a 5-foot diameter bales, of course, the bales are bigger. So you need to split the conveyor apart so they're not pushing too hard against each other. And the third set of hydraulic are for the drawbar. So different from typical trailers. The drawbar, basically, our hydraulic will push the platform for dropping the bales off the ground. So just to be sure, once you have that hooked up, you're gonna have to look on the drawbar. Right on the top of it, you will have this valve over here. This valve is locked from the factory when we ship it to you. So you have to open this so the oil will go from the tractor and then you can run basically the drawbar for tilting the platform. Don't forget to remove the safety pin that prevent the arm from going down over a long storage period of time. So to remove the safety pin, it's quite easy. So right here underneath, this is where the safety pin is. So that's prevent the arm from moving down. So you just have to remove the quick pin, which is quite simple. And then you pull this out. So that's gonna free the arm. The arm's gonna be able to move up and down when you're gonna turn on the computer. Now you don't know where to put that pin. Right on top here, there's a place dedicated for that pin for the storage position. So basically you're not gonna lose it. And it's always convenient to have it really close. So just simply don't forget to take it out and store it there so you never lose it. Before turning on the computer, the last thing we're gonna do, or setting we're gonna do on this machine is we will adjust the conveyor according to the bale diameter you're gonna be picking in the field. So the RBM PRO series were designed, as I said, to pick up bales from 4 to 5 foot, so 48 inches up to 60 inches. As soon as your bale diameter is bigger than 48 inches, so 49 inches and above, you're gonna have to open this up. And in order to do that, you're gonna run the hydraulic directly from the tractor. And as you're gonna run it, then the conveyor is gonna move toward the outside. And then you have this indicator over here that's gonna tell you up to where you have to push this conveyor toward the outside. Now that you have just adjusted the conveyor spacing, it is also important to adjust the side rail. So there's only 2 positions. There's the closed position as it is right now. So that's gonna be for the 48 inches diameter bale. As soon as you do bigger than 48 inches, you're gonna have to open the side rail toward the outside so the bales sit nicely into it. The main point is to make sure that the film on the bales, when not rubbing too hard on the side rail, that could create friction and eventually damage the film. So now, as you could see, when we open this up, we have a much bigger surface area, so the bale's gonna sit without touching the side rail. That's the most important when we're loading bales. We want the bales to roll on this bed and without touching the side rail. As we just adjust the side rail, it is also really important that you adjust this roller over here. So this roller, basically, the purpose of it is to basically push the bales. So when the pusher is pushing the bales backward, they get inside the rails. And so if you do 48 inches bale diameter only, this is the position. If you do a notch bigger than 48 inches, you also need to open this conical rollers to the outer position. Otherwise, the bales basically is going to be pushing against that, and we don't want that. We want the bale to go inside. So again, it's a quick pin that we take out, and then we simply slide this in the outer position. and then we'll lock it there. So basically, as the bell is getting bigger in diameter, we also want to snug the bell really nicely with the bed, and that's going to prevent basically the bells from catching the hand of the beginning of the side rails and tear the plastic away. So now we're going to be talking about the display that comes with the RBM Pro from Anderson. So of course you have to connect all the wiring harness to the power source and so on. And if you follow the wiring harness, you're going to find that switch. Basically that's going to allow the power to reach up to the computer. So you have to wait for a second before the computer display anything on it. So the screen is quite intuitive. There's not a lot of written explanation. It's all pictogram mainly. So before we go over the loading and unloading process, I'm just going to go through the settings. So that's going to be the first thing you will have to do. So you can either click on the screen directly with your finger, or you can use the button on the side, depending what your preference is. So the first setting, of course, will be the language. So at the moment we have French, English, or German language available. You select which one you want to use. And then the second setting would like you to go over will be the display settings. Then depending where you're from, in the US, Canada, or Europe, you're going to be able to choose between imperial or metric system. What it is so important, basically if you choose imperial, the bell diameter when you're going to do the selection will be written in inches or feet. If you go in metric, it's going to be written in meter. And the same thing for the hydraulic pressure, and then it's going to be written in PSI or bar. So you can decide which one by simply clicking on the screen. You can adjust the screen brightness on top. Right below, right now we are on the daylight mode. So that's the normal setup you're going to have when you turn the computer on for the first time. If you're working overnight, you can also use the dark mode. So that's basically going to have less brightness in your eyes. It's going to make it more comfortable for you guys. And finally, if the dates and time are not matching the area where you're living, you can simply click once, and then you're going to see that black on the score. And then after that, you need to use the arrow to navigate left to right and up and down to change. So let's say if you want to change the hour. Once you're done, we click on that button here to keep that date and time correct. You're just going to need it only if you need to do any diagnostic. So it is a magnifying glass, and basically you're going to have on that screen all the sensors on the machine and with the status indicator. So if it is red, we use a lot of proximity sensor on the machine. So if it is red, that means there's no, the sensor is not detecting any metal nearby. If it is green, that means there is still really close to it. And then you can also go to the analog input setting diagnostic pages. So here we're going to see how many volts there is and the loading arm angle and so on. So just so you know where to find the information in case you need it. So I'm not going to spend more time on that. So before you go out and pick up the first bell, you're going to have to select if you want to load 2 rows side by side. So this is typically what we're going to be using if you pick up wrap bell. If you want to move dry hay or straw, you can go up to 3 rows. So then you just have to select from one to the other. And as you will notice, as I select 3 rows, then the amount of bell is also increasing. On the top here, there's two setup. So we either choose a 4-foot diameter bell, so 4x4, 4.5x4, or 5x4. So that will be mostly what you're going to be using in Europe. In North America, we have a lot of 5-foot wide bell chambers. So it's going to be a 4x5 or 4.5x5 or 5x5. So as you change your bell setup, then the total amount of bell you can pick up will change as well. So you just need to select which one you want. The other setting I want you to be aware of, so this page is quite important. So this is what's basically going to control the loading arm during the loading process. So as you will notice, there's 3 information you can type and change on the top of the screen, and there's a number next to it that correspond to the pictures right below. So the setting number 1, so as you pick up a bell that is 4 foot tall, let's say the bells are sitting vertically. If you have a 4-foot or 5-foot wide bell chamber, your bells, the center of the bell is going to be a different height from the ground. And so by picking up the bells format from the screen, technically the arm should be at the right spot to pick the bell centered. However, if you're not happy with where the arm is sitting above the ground, you can ask the computer to lower the arm closer to the ground or higher of the factory setting by adding or removing degrees to the setting number 1. Setting number 2, and as it is written here on the screen, this is the squeezing pressure. So if you have a really tight, heavy bale, you want to squeeze that bale really hard because you don't want that bale to slip through the grabber and damage the plastic. And if you have really soft bale and you're squeezing too hard, you may damage the plastic. So you might want to reduce how much pressure you want to squeeze the bale before the bale's getting lifted off the ground. So again, that could be changed. Setting number 3, so the RBM Pro series from 2024 and up to today, we have now a sonar sensor on it. So basically, when you drive toward the bales, the RBM Pro will sense the bales as it comes through to the grabbers, and it will read at what speed you're approaching that bale. So based on that speed, the grabber will start closing and squeezing the bales right before it basically mechanically touch the loading arm, and then you can adjust or delay how soon or later you want the squeezer to start closing onto the bale. The second setting here, if you go on the bottom right corner, there's a black arrow. As per factory setting, the machine is going to be using the sonar inside the grabber. As I said before, it is to read and detect the bales as it gets closer. If you don't like that feature, you can simply use the mechanical trigger. So basically what it does, if you use a mechanical trigger, it's going to wait for the bales to push into the arm before starting to close and lift it off the ground. The second sonar sensor, it is used to basically adjust the loading arm versus the trailer. As we know, fields are not perfect, so there will be some slope up and down. And if we have a bale sitting in a low spot, basically that sonar sensor underneath will basically always follow the ground at the same height, no matter if your trailer is tilting one side or the other. So per factory setting, you're going to be using that sensor. If you don't want to use it, then you can just simply click to the left hand side, and then your arm will remain stiff and always in the same angle versus the trailer. But I recommend using the sonar sensor, because it makes the picking process a lot user friendly for everybody and a lot more convenient. So that is the major setting you need to be aware of before going out in the field and giving your first shot. So now that we've been through the critical setting, just to explain you the home pages, what you're going to find out on this. You're going to have your battery voltage in the top right corner, the date and time we did set up before. I'll get back pretty soon on these two buttons. So the first top left button, this is to activate the automatic loading mode. So you see the arrow pointing inside the trailer, so that means you want to get bales into it. The second button will be for unloading. So if you click on that one, basically you will engage the unloading process. The third button, it is for the manual mode. So the manual mode, basically you're gonna select, I can show you really quickly. You can select which function of the machine you want to run by clicking like that. Let's say I want to run the front wall pusher, and then I'm going to use the arrow up and down. You will rarely use this, maybe once every season if you need to do some maintenance or to grease some pivot point. It might be practical to get the arm in a specific position. On the top right corner, this is the emergency button. So while picking up bales, or if you're working around the shop and something goes wrong and you want to stop the machine, you click on that, everything's going to stop. That's one way to do it. You can also use the main switch on the wiring harness. So if you cut off the power to the computer, of course everything's going to stop as well. Or you can also shut off the tractor to make the machine stop from moving. This pictogram over here, this is what we call the transport mode. So if you click on that and the arm is hovering over the ground, ready to pick a bale, basically it will retract the arm within the transport width for the road, so you can safely drive, get on the road back to the farm, or sometime maybe to the next field. And this button over here, that's going to be to rotate the grabber depending on the position of your bales into the field. I'm going to show you that in a second. So we're going to kick in the automatic mode. I click on that. This is a warning. You're going to find out the same decal on the trailer. And again, it is quite important to read the operator's manual. So in this one, the arm's going to start moving by itself. So there's a danger if somebody is walking nearby the machine. So you have to be really careful as the operator. If you're not ready, you click on that door. That's going to kick you out back to the home pages. If you're ready, nobody's sitting around, there's no danger. Then you click on the check mark, and then the arm's going to deploy itself over the ground, ready to pick a bale. So it's going right now through the initialization sequence. Make sure everything is set up right. Getting ready. So now the claw, it's open like on the picture, because per default it will be ready to pick a bale sitting on the flat end, so vertically basically. So I'm gonna go through the quick setting. So let's say you want to keep track of the bales you're picking up per field or customer number. You're gonna see that small pictogram over here. This is a chart. If you go on that, basically you can edit a different field number, or you can edit customer name. Let's say I'm going to do field 2, for example. I got field 2, and then say here I'm going to put ban, for example. So depending what you want to track, if you're a custom operator, you want to track customer name. If you're a farm owner, maybe you want to track how many bales you got out of each field. And if you want to start tracking for the field number 2, and go back here, go back there, then we're going to see on the top right corner, it's going to be written field number 2. So every time you're going to pick the bale, the counter for field number 2 is going to be there. If you want to track a customer name, again, you're just going to highlight the over here. I'm going to highlight Ben, for example. There we go. We go back, and then now we're going to start counting bales for Ben. So that is the first thing. The second thing will be how many bales you have on the bed. So as you load bales, the bale's gonna start appearing on the bed, and you have to make sure at all time that the bales on the screen display does match the bale you have actually sitting on the platform. If ever you pick a bale, the bale slipped through the grabber because you did not apply the right pressure on it and so on, the machine will calculate that bale as being loaded, but in reality the bale is still in on the ground into the field. So you're gonna have to remove that bale, virtual bale, off the screen. So in order to do that, you're gonna use that small pictogram here, and here, as you could see, let's say you had 3 bales and that bale did not make its way up to the bed. You can remove it, and you go back, and then now you have changed, so this has to match with your bed, and now you're ready to go for the next one. If your bales are not sitting in that position, then we're going to use that button over here. So as you could see on the pictogram, so the arm's going to rotate the other way around in order to pick up the bales that are sitting on the curved edges. And then when I do engage the arm in this specific position, it will let on basically a camera which is installed on the grabber. Because when we pick bale in that position, it does require more skills for the tractor driver, because you need to drive at the right distance from the bale. If you're driving too close, you will pick the bales on one hand. If you're driving too far, you'll pick the bale on the other hand. So basically, as you drive toward the bales, that yellow line in the middle of the screen will help you gauge if you're driving too far or too close of it. So this is it. I'm just going to bring it back in this position. As the arm is moving, I can click on the play pause button. That will stop the motion of the arm as it is, and if I click play again, then we'll just keep going. That play pause function is quite useful, especially if you're working in a hilly condition. If you're on a side hill, and as you're going to gain experience running the machine, you will notice that sometimes you might be in a specific angle or on a slope that will not be ideal to launch the bale onto the bed. So you can pause the arm and wait to position yourself in a better position before letting the computer finish its work. If you don't have any bales onto the loading arm and you're going to the next one, you can, if you click on the pause button, that will raise the arm at about 20 degrees of the ground, giving you a lot more ground clearance so you can drive faster. So as you get closer to the next bale, then just before getting too close, you can click on the pause again function, and the arm will set itself above the ground, ready to picking it up. If you're down picking up bales into that in a specific field, your trailer is not fully loaded, and you need to go through a narrow bridge or a small forest or fence line and so on to reach out to the next field, you can click on the transport mode. The transport mode basically will put the arm back into transport mode above the bales that are actually sitting onto the platform. And then you can cross that fence line. And once you're back into the next field, you're going to re-engage the automatic loading mode again to redeploy the arm onto the ground. So the arm just gets itself into transport mode across the little forest, or maybe pick up the bridge to the next field. So if I click on the automatic loading mode again, then it has kept track of how many bales was already loaded onto the platform, and it will deploy itself back to the ground, ready to get the next one. When the trailer is completely full, so in this cases, because of the bale sizes I select and how many rows I want to put on it, I can put up to 10 bale maximum, but this trailer has a capacity to go up to 14 bales. But let's say once I'm done loading 10 bales, the arm will automatically fold into transport position and ready to unload. So just gonna show you, I'm gonna put 9 bale, and I'm gonna do the simulation for the last bale as it is. So I have only 1 bale to go. So if I click here, it will squeeze the bale, getting ready. So while the machine is loading and doing all its function, I always like to keep my finger close to the play pause button. And now we are done loading the last bale. Then the arm's gonna go automatically into transport position without having to press anything, right? And this is it. So now the arm's gonna be in transport position. See the screen switch automatically to transport mode. As we drove onto the road, you can enlarge this camera by clicking here. So basically, when you have bales sitting on the trailer, you won't see behind as you drive if there's any car coming close or not. So that screen is going to basically warn you if a driver is chasing you right behind. So it's a safety feature. So if you need to exit the road and cross the lane and you see the driver behind trying to overpass you, that's going to give you more awareness of what's going on. So, but now we're driving back to the farm, and we'll explain you in a second how we do the unloading of it. The machine went itself automatically into transport mode. So now we're going to go unload it. So we're going to click on that button over here. Again, we have that same warning because the arm is going to move itself automatically. So you have to make sure there's no building next to the machine or no person walking around. So if everything is safe, you click on that. Otherwise, you can abort. So in our cases, everything is good. So I'm going to click here. The arm will basically unfold partially because it's sitting right above the bales, and we want to get that arm away from the pusher. So if the unloading process, it's a three-stage or three-step process, which is quite simple, and it's all written here. So first step, we have to raise the platform in an angle. Once that is done, then we click on that arrow to the corner. We go to the second step. So the second step, it's lower the rear stopper and activate the pusher and then proceed to the next one. So these two arrows over here will control these mechanical stopper at the back. So if I click on the bottom arrow, they will release down, and as you could see, they are appearing on the camera here. So when I lower the mechanical stopper, I like to keep it for a second longer to make sure both are fully down completely. And then with these two arrows over here, basically we're going to be controlling the front wall to push the bales toward the back. So you can either hold the pusher, hold the button on the screen all the time, but it's not convenient if you have to drive forward at the same time. So what you could do, you can use that lock over here. If you click on the lock, this is like a countdown in seconds. So you're gonna say, okay, I want to have a 5-second countdown or 3-second countdown. You can go up to 10 seconds if you want to. But basically what it is, I'm just gonna have to click once on that arrow and not holding it. And so as I click, it will do 2, 1, and at 0, the pusher will push automatically by itself. And then I have my both ends free to steer the tractors and do other function if I need to. So I just do that, 1, 0, and now the pusher is pushing my bales. I'm driving forward nicely, making sure everything is safe all around. When the machine is, when the bales are completely pushed off the platform, then once we're done, we just click here on the next, and then it's gonna say lower the platform and then proceed to the next step. So I'll say, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna lower the platform like this. And then next step, when I do that, I don't have anything to do, and the machine will basically fold itself up back to go back on the road. So the pusher is coming all the way to the front, the arm will retract right behind the front wall, and then we can hit the road back to the field again and chasing more bales. So this is how easy it is.